When a Travelers Rest woman goes missing, investigators with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office have no idea that looking for her would lead them right to a serial killer.
If you tell him to turn that off, I will talk to you a little more freely.
It is without a doubt that if it were not for the diligent investigative efforts by this team of investigators, this man will most likely be free on the streets, continuing to prey on innocent victims.
There is no more serious offense than taking the life of another, and yesterday's life sentence was a small measure of justice for these families.
On a steaming hot day in August of 2021, a 59-year-old handyman named Daniel Printz, who lived in Bostic, North Carolina, drove his SUV into a motel parking lot in Travelers Rest. This small stop sits right on the quiet line between North and South Carolina. Just an hour before his motel stop, Printz had killed 80-year-old Edna Suttles, a retired woman who used to run a business called a One Freedom Bail Bonding.
An 80-year-old retired businesswoman and the owner of A1 Freedom Bail Bonding, Edna was a fixture in the community, vibrant and active.
Despite committing a heinous murder, Printz was eerily calm while he cleaned out his car. He looked as peaceful as anyone else in town, no clue about the dark secret he was keeping.
It's just a man parking his SUV in the lot of a small-town motel. Nothing out of the ordinary. The middle-aged man seems to be concerned with the appearance of his vehicle, taking extra care to polish it a bit here and there. He certainly doesn't seem to have a care in the world as he walks away. That's actually quite amazing, since the man, Daniel Printz of Bostic, North Carolina, had just brutally murdered an 80-year-old woman less than an hour before.
This calmness hid who he really was, a man who had secretly taken the lives of at least 4 people. His most recent terrible act was hiding Suttles' body in a shallow grave in the rough mountains of North Carolina. This mistake would eventually lead to the end of his crimes. Printz originally became acquainted with Suttles by doing odd jobs at her house, which made her trust him. On the day she disappeared, she was supposed to visit a friend who wasn't able to leave her home but never arrived. Her friend's family got worried when she hadn't turned up. It wasn't like her to just vanish, so they quickly called the Greenville County Sheriff's Office.
Greenville County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
The thing is, a fitter was supposed to show up to be with my mom today, and she's in her 80s, and she didn't show up. We've come to her house, and we can't get nobody to the door or anything. Her name is Edna Suttles. It's not like her. She shows up like clockwork. So something's wrong.
Breaking away from the cliché rule of waiting 24 hours, the sheriff's deputies didn't waste any time and went straight to check on Suttles at her home to make sure this wouldn't be a legitimate missing persons investigation. They found nothing. No sign of Edna Suttles, her car, but also no signs of trouble. Although it would come to be that her missing light brown Jeep Grand Cherokee turned out to be an important clue.
Her vehicle was not at the residence. That vehicle, a champagne-colored Jeep Grand Cherokee, would prove to be the starting point of suspicions that something terrible may have befallen the woman.
Everyone in the community knew and admired Suttles for her smart business sense and her kindness, which made her disappearance ever more upsetting. It wasn't until September 3rd, a week after she vanished, that they got a big break in the case. Edna's Jeep was found at a Best Western hotel in Travelers Rest. Security cameras at the hotel caught Printz being very careful, cleaning the Jeep, especially around the passenger door before he disappeared. This video was key. It showed that Suttles hadn't just left on her own.
It was 7 days before the Jeep was found by an officer of a local police department on September 3rd in the parking lot of the Best Western Hotel in the town of Travelers Rest. The Jeep had been backed into a parking space, concealing the license plate from anyone just driving through the lot.
Then, the investigators started piecing together Printz's movements using the timestamp from the hotel's security video, which showed him at 1:46 p.m. on the day he left the Jeep. The morning of August 27th, when Suttles left her home, was still a mystery until more camera footage was uncovered. At 9:22 a.m. on August 27, 2021, cameras at a Food Lion supermarket in Travelers Rest recorded a Chevrolet Cruze pulling into the lot. A few minutes later, at 9:30 a.m., Suttles was seen driving away from her home in her Jeep. The cameras tracked her initial path.
At 9:22 a.m. on the morning of August 27, 2021, a security camera video shows a Chevrolet Cruze pull into the parking lot at a Food Lion supermarket in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. Just 8 minutes later, at 9:30 a.m., Edna Suttles drives away from her home in her champagne-colored Jeep Grand Cherokee. Security camera footage from a nearby antique store showed the time of departure and initial direction of travel.
By 9:38 a.m., a man who looked a lot like the one later seen cleaning out her Jeep bought strawberry yogurt at Food Lion using a rewards card under the name Daniel Printz. Right after that, Suttles parked her Jeep near where Printz had stopped. Cameras caught Printz signaling to Suttles before he grabbed a small bag from his car and got into the Jeep with her, and they both drove off soon after. 4 hours later, around 1:43 p.m., the Jeep was spotted leaving Suttles' place and headed back towards Food Lion. At 2:02 p.m., Printz got out of the Jeep on the driver's side and went back to his Cruze. He was seen moving something between the two vehicles. Turns out it was Edna Suttles, who was now not moving. It was then that he drove the Jeep away. He left Suttles inside his parked car at the Best Western, cleaned up the Jeep, and then walked back to the supermarket. By 2:14 p.m., Printz was driving away with Suttles, who still wasn't moving. Even though they lost track of him for a bit, the discovery of Printz's rewards card eventually led the cops to his address in Bostic, North Carolina. Daniel Glenn Printz, originally from Michigan and now living in rural Rutherford County, was known around as a handyman who helped out elderly, single, or widowed women, quickly able to earn their trust. Despite looking like a helpful guy, he had a dark past, including a kidnapping charge from 1997 in Michigan, for which he served 12 years of a 13 to 30-year sentence before he was released on parole.
Printz's criminal history includes a 1997 conviction from Michigan for kidnapping, and he was sentenced to 13 to 30 years in state prison for that crime. He was released in 2009, and his parole was terminated in 2011.
With the video evidence and a clear timeline, detectives linked Printz to his past crimes. The Greenville County Sheriff's Department quickly got in touch with their colleagues across the state line in Rutherford County, armed with enough proof for charges of vehicle theft and a warrant for Printz's arrest. They coordinated fast, and the Rutherford County Sheriff agreed to help catch him. When confronted by numerous well-armed officers, Printz surrendered without incident. "Stand up on your feet," commanded one of the officers. "Yes, sir, I will be very cooperative," Printz assured them as he was escorted to the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department for questioning.
Totally cooperating, just relax. You're not doing anything, and I'll cooperate. Put on my good. Stand up on your feet. Stay right there. Yeah. Sir, I will be very cooperative. All right, let's try that, please.
Throughout the interview, Printz attempted to steer the conversation, maintaining an air of arrogance. "I need to clarify the date, August 27th, 2021. What day of the week was that?" an investigator inquired. "It was a Friday," Printz answered smoothly.
I told you that August 27th, 2021 this year.
What day of the week was that?
Oh, it was a Friday.
Okay.
Where are you on that day? What's your typical Fridays like?
Some Fridays I go do jobs, some Fridays I stay home, some Fridays I go look at jobs, I do all sorts of things. Days run together for me because I don't have a set schedule.
Fair enough.
He explained that his Fridays were unpredictable, sometimes spent working, other times at home. Regarding that particular Friday 2 weeks earlier, he admitted his memory was hazy, with possible travels between Charlotte and South Carolina, including a potential stop in Travelers Rest. Printz talked about how he had been to a woman's house in Travelers Rest a few times. She was dealing with some legal troubles and personal issues like a lawsuit over some shoddy ductwork. He checked out the house a couple of times to see if there were any jobs he could do, but they never really got started on any work. Instead, they ended up talking a lot about her needing money to pay for a private investigator because of some family drama. On the day in question, Printz had planned to meet this woman at Food Lion while she would allegedly meet the private investigator. He said she picked him up, but the investigator never showed, so they spent a few hours at her place. Later, They went back to Food Lion and ended up driving around near a hotel trying to find this missing investigator. Printz described the day as full of surprises and uncertainties. The detectives kept pressing him, showing him video of him cleaning a car and walking around a parking lot. They asked him about what he did that day and about Edna, the last woman he was seen with, who was now nowhere to be found. Printz stuck to his story that he had dropped her off safely at her home, although the video suggested something else entirely. The questioning got more intense as the detectives questioned why Printz was seen cleaning the vehicle, hinting that such behavior was suspicious, being that Edna was missing. He defended himself, saying he was just being extra careful because he thought there might be a threat against Edna. However, the detectives were doubtful. They noted that he was the last known person to see her, which made him look pretty guilty. While his story had some holes, there wasn't enough evidence to really pin him down. Meanwhile, as the questions kept coming, other police officers were searching his property. They found a scary number of weapons, including 2 rifles and around 20 handguns, all missing their serial numbers, plus a large amount of ammunition. For a convicted felon as Printz was, having all these weapons was illegal, but now an enhanced offense because the serials were removed.
The officers there found a formidable arsenal, including 2 AR-15 variants and up to 20 handguns, plus a large stockpile of ammunition. The serial numbers on both the AR-15s had been removed. Chapter 44 of Title 18 of the United States Federal Code bans convicted felons from owning firearms, and here he was with many of them in his possession. The removal of serial numbers is also illegal, building even more trouble for the man.
As they dug deeper into the investigation, they found more troubling evidence at Printz's residence, though it wasn't directly connected to Edna Suttles' disappearance. Worse, they found personal items belonging to Nancy Rigo, a missing widow from Charlotte, who might have also been close to Printz. Her driver's license, passport, and bank cards were there, along with papers showing that he might have taken over her address and finances. They even found items that had belonged to Rigo's late mother, showing even more deceit. Also, they seized a black bag with zip ties, a taser, and drugs that are often used in kidnappings. Despite all this stacked evidence, Printz kept saying he had nothing to do with Suttles' disappearance. Then, on October 9th, during a yard sale that Printz's wife was holding, a friend who was helping clean up made a shocking find. Hidden in the woods, inside a box used for bees, they found Edna Suttles' purse, her Jeep keys, and other personal belongings. Right there with them was an opened yogurt cup, the same brand that Printz had bought on the day Suttles went missing, and it was found to be drugged, the same kind found in Printz's stash. Although they still hadn't found Suttles' body yet, a cadaver dog that was brought to the spot reacted to the smell of human remains near a panel, a trash bag, and a tarp. However, they couldn't find Suttles' body. Even without a body, the evidence was strong enough for the cops to believe she had been murdered. While in jail, Printz stuck to his story in 2 detailed interviews. He claimed to have visited Suttles a few times at Traveler's Rest before she disappeared. He admitted he wiped down the Jeep to avoid being noticed by the investigator, then went back to the Best Western parking lot to pick up his own car and go home. Despite seeming sure of himself with the new evidence, the police went for a 3rd round of questioning. Understanding the seriousness of his situation, Printz tried to take control of the situation. "I'm a realist. I have acceptance of this. I want some control over how this plays out. Turn off the recording and I'll talk freely," Printz negotiated during the intense interview session.
There are things that have to happen, and there are things that are going to happen. And I'm a realist, and I have acceptance with this. I would like a little bit of control in how they happen. If you tell them to turn that off, I will talk to you a little more freely.
As the interview stretched on, nearly an hour in, Printz capitulated, recognizing the bleakness of his prospects, and swiftly negotiated a deal to sidestep the death penalty. He consented to divulge details unknown to the authorities insisting on having his lawyer present. He then revealed the location of Suttles' body. In May 2022, leading officers to a property close by, they discovered her buried yet identifiable remains. Furthermore, Printz confessed to several murders, exposing himself as a serial killer. He recounted his involvement in the deaths of Dolores Sellers, Nancy Rigo, and Lee Goodman. He described assisting in Sellers' euthanasia, with Rigo playing a part in the act. Disturbed by the events, Rigo threatened to alert the authorities and quickly became his subsequent victim. He silently disposed of her body and redirected her social security checks to his address. Sellers' death, previously deemed natural, was reclassified as a homicide. Goodman from Florida allegedly attempted to rob him. The confrontation turned deadly, and her body was discarded in a secluded area. No proof of the purported robbery was found. Avoiding a trial, Printz received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. He is now incarcerated at the United States Penitentiary Hazleton in Brewston Mills, West Virginia, infamously known as Misery Mountain. His conviction has delivered some measure of closure to the bereaved families and their communities, though questions about the full extent of his atrocities linger. As he remains behind bars, there is hope that his dreadful spree ended with these 4 known victims, although the shadow of potential undisclosed crimes hangs over until further revelations emerge. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of true crime, your support drives us forward. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay with us as we delve into the darkest corners of true crime. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay curious, and keep chasing cases.